the Longwood section. The 32-year-old victim was stabbed several times by a man and a woman. They're on a motive for the attack. They're searching to find out what caused this attack. Now, that victim was hospitalized in serious but stable condition. But if you have any information, call Crime Stoppers at number 800-577-TIPS.
Well, I guess it was only a matter of time before somebody decided to send in the troops.
I'm redeploying nearly 1,000 members of the New York State Police, MTA Police, and MTA National Guard to conduct bag checks in the city's busiest transits. They'll start seeing them at the tables, making sure that weapons are not being brought in, working in concert with our New York State Police, as well as our NYPD. Because no one heading to their job or to visit family or to go to a doctor appointment should worry that the person sitting next to them possesses a deadly weapon.
You know, the Second Amendment would fix a lot of this, but here we are. Let's watch a little more. What is up, guys? I figured it was time to check in on our friends in New York City because, quite frankly, we haven't talked about them in a while. I would also talk about our friends in Chicago and our friends in LA and our friends in Denver and our friends, I guess you could say, in wherever the hell the migrants are being sent to, which, of course, we've talked about this on several occasions. But we're not going to be talking about migrants in this video. As a matter of fact, we're going to be talking about something else, something that I've talked about before. And, of course, that thing that I've talked about before was subway crime. You see, guys, in New York City, subway is a pretty big deal. It's a big deal because, well, people have got to take the subway to get from point A to point B sometimes. I understand that New York is definitely a city that you can walk around in. It's accessible, but still, it's a pretty big place. It really and truly is. It also costs a lot to live there. Now, me personally, never actually living there and only been there 2 or 3 times, but obviously serving with guys in the military who are from there and still live there to this day, even though a lot of them have decided to move out of the city and move upstate or maybe move down to Florida or, in one particular case, move out of the country altogether. It's still a pretty big deal. And even though I love to sit here and say that the people who live in New York voted for the policies that they're getting now, it does not mean that I don't empathize with them, not one bit. It also doesn't mean I don't sympathize with some. And of course, that's one of the main reasons why, as I'm talking about the migrant situation, as I've always said, it's just best to have a good old-fashioned wall. Or have the president just simply close the border, even though he, quite frankly, refuses to do so. But still, at the same time, though, they're obviously going to be blaming the governor of Texas for sending migrants all over the place, even though the president could shut this entire thing down. Now, guys, there's something I'm going to say now, and I'm going to say it at the very, very end of the video because you guys are obviously going to see this. It's almost like having a point here, skipping all the way over it, and then coming right back to it at the very end. New York City has got a problem, and that problem is the district attorney, Alvin Bragg. Alvin Bragg is one of those poros DAs. I say poros because if you say the other version, the actual real word, then YouTube may find a way to shadow ban the video. And, of course, seeing as my channel is already shadow banned, once again, like they always do. They do it at least once every month or so. But still, though, I figure it would probably be best to be a little bit more PC, even though I'm not a PC guy, for the purposes of this video. But still, though, I'm pretty sure I'm going to go anti-PC at some point in time, so make sure you guys stick around for the full video. DA Alvin Bragg. Basically, what's happening is that he is letting all the criminals out. If you get arrested in New York City, then you're almost guaranteed to get out one way or another. I mean, we've talked about the Lake and Riley situation, which, by the way, nobody seems to want to talk about now, especially here on YouTube, because YouTube has found a way to kind of block that content or found a way to block that story. But still, at the same time, this right here is a guy who New York City let go, ended up down in Georgia, ended up killing another girl. We're still waiting on the situation in Virginia where a guy, an illegal, a Venezuelan, assaulted a young girl in Loudoun County. And, of course, you've got people out there like Joy Reid who love to tell us that illegal immigration, we shouldn't panic about that when obviously it's becoming a bit of an issue. There was also the situation in New York where you had those guys who jumped the NYPD officers. And, of course, 2 of those individuals ended up in Arizona. And, of course, another 2 of those individuals ended up being connected to another gang, a gang in Venezuela. By the way, we're going to be talking about the Venezuelan gangs on Friday, so make sure you guys stick around for that video there. But, of course, when you see headlines like this here, that 3 people got away or they just found 3 people who killed somebody on the subway, obviously, at some point in time, people are going to begin to demand that you actually do something about it. And as governor of the state of New York, maybe sending in the National Guard might be a good idea. But still, though, at the same time, there's a lot of minutia here to go through, so make sure you guys stick around for the full video, and let's go ahead and get into this.
Developing story, big changes coming to the subway system to protect riders from crime and violence. A little more than an hour ago, New York Governor Kathy Hochul announced her 5-point plan, including the deployment of hundreds of members of the National Guard. Eyewitness News reporter Kimberly Richardson live in Columbus Circle with the details. Kimberly.
Well, Michelle, when it comes to crime in the subway, Governor Hochul not sugarcoating any of this. Putting statistics aside, she acknowledged the psychological impact all of this has on folks. This 5-point plan, this new plan, it really is a multi-layered approach to driving down violent crime in the subway. So let's get to it. First, you will once again see bag checks. 750 members of the Army National Guard, along with 250 New York State and MTA police will lead that effort. Also on the table, a bold move. The governor wants judges to be able to ban someone from the subway or buses who has previously been convicted of a violent crime against another person. That ban could be in effect for up to 3 years.
Do you know what the best defense is against stabbing? Take a wild guess. Just take a guess. Gun. Pistol. Now, obviously, you can't just be walking around town with a rifle strapped to your back, all right? But I'm talking about just a basic pistol. Now, obviously, I cannot show you anything from my collection, but let's take my Amazon Prime controller right here, okay? You can find you a nice little 380 pistol, get hollow points, and it's about the size of this Amazon Prime controller. Same thing with like a 38 Special. If the state of New York, and I understand that the gun laws in New York are completely jacked up, but what's really screwed up is the process to actually get one. The price to get a pistol permit or handgun permit is ridiculous. Only the wealthiest of the wealthy can actually get one of those, which they can actually hire armed security. You see, basic, regular people, normal people can't hire armed security because we don't have that kind of money, especially in this economy. If you really and truly want to help law enforcement out, if you really truly want to help the city out, what you would do is you would allow people to actually be armed on the subway. Let me say this really quick, okay? Because I didn't say this right here before, but this is kind of what I meant by I'm going to make a point and then come all the way back at the very, very end. Well, I'm going to go ahead and break that oath right now. People can get weapons on subways that can get through the metal detectors. You guys ever see that show, 1,000 Ways to Die? I mean, like, there are other ways that you can actually hurt somebody. Let's say that somebody gets strangled, or you guys are hearing about stabbings right now, okay? All you need is just enough blunt force just to penetrate somebody's jugular. That's all the hell you need. If you really and truly want to fix this problem, or at least clean this problem up, allow people to actually practice their Second Amendment rights. Now, before I talk about the ban or anything the judge says or anything that the governor is trying to talk about or try to do, there's something I do want to address, and I didn't address it in the previous video that I did on subway crime. You see, the New York City subway system has got this problem, and you see these videos that go viral on Twitter. Obviously, I'm not showing you these videos now, but obviously you will see them in the very, very next clip of people jumping one another in the subway. Not only do they jump people in the subway, they also push people onto the tracks, which is extremely dangerous. Now, somebody please educate me in the comment section on whether the tracks are electrified or anything. I was always told that they were, but still at the same time, pushing somebody on the subway tracks is obviously pretty daggone dangerous because, dude, it's a freaking train that's coming your direction. What if you can't lift that person out of there? What if you can't help them out of there? You almost cause that person to get killed. By the way, a lot of these people will do this and then take off running. Normally, it's cell phone footage that catches these perpetrators. By the way, these perpetrators who do this, they need to be locked up for good. But obviously, it's New York City, and you have Alvin Bragg. He just releases you after you commit a crime. Another problem that New York City has is that people are not allowed to defend themselves, and you guys will see that come up in a little bit here in just a second. I'm pretty sure some of you guys remember the Daniel Penny case, where the guy basically put a chokehold on. It wasn't men trying to kill the guy, but of course, he basically put a chokehold on a guy to keep the guy from doing any more harm. And some people are probably thinking to themselves, well, wait a minute, isn't New York City known for guys who actually do, I don't know, like vigilante type stuff? Well, it hasn't been the case for a very long time, and I've been saying for a while that you could find a situation where this could in fact happen. But New York City figured that what they would do is that they would tell people, look, if you've been convicted of this crime here, you can't get on the subway. If you've done this right in the past 3 years, you can't get on the subway, not for the next few years. I would say that this right here will work, and we'll see what happens, especially given the fact that there are a lot of transit cops that are being put on these subways, and of course, a lot more transit cops than normal. Now, transit cops, I want to say that their job is to protect the trains going out of the city or in and out of the city rather than the ones inside the city itself. But putting the National Guard in here, I'm still a little bit skeptical about that. And I'll give you guys my reasons more so towards the end. But the thing about the National Guard is if you're going to the National Guard right off the bat, then people are automatically going to assume this is some pretty heavy stuff. And of course, in some cases, some people, and I have no idea why in the hell they get this way, especially being a veteran myself, some people get intimidated by this. And there is also a lot of very, very crazy left-wingers in the city who will probably think that, oh my God, this right here is the imperialism coming to get us. Fact of the matter is, the biggest problem that we have in this country is that we have people who don't like the idea of being held accountable for doing something stupid, but here we are. The thing is this right here. Some people are probably a little bit curious to see exactly how far this right will go or how effective it will be. I'm not saying this to take a knock at the New York City or the New York State National Guard, but still, though, at the same time, the mere fact that that Governor Kathy Hochul is just now getting to this and just now seeing it's a problem is quite frankly astonishing, and it makes me wonder if this right is not for election purposes, because we have an election coming up this year, and of course, everything gets political. And let's also not forget that race wars only happen once every 4 years. But let's watch a little more.
Point 3 touches on something Mayor Eric Adams today highlighted as a major problem he calls a crisis, that of repeat offenders. He pointed out 38 people arrested last year for assaulting 60 transit workers. Get this, those folks were linked to more than 1,000 crimes in the city. And so the governor wants to strengthen ties between police and the DA's office. Her next concern comes on the heels of that brutal attack on a subway conductor who was slashed in the neck. The governor now wants cameras installed in each and every conductor cabin in the system. This is a big picture plan that relies on coordination between local, state, and national agencies.
Anyone looking to do harm or spread fear on our subways, you will be caught. Plain and simple. There will be consequences. This has to end. New Yorkers deserve no less. And to those who are feeling anxious whenever they walk through those turnstiles, we will stop at nothing to keep you safe, you and your family members, and restore your peace of mind.
When you see
I want to
people...
say this really quick before we go any further, because I'm going to touch on it again probably towards the end of the video, or probably right at the very end of the video, because sometimes I do these, let's just say sometimes I record this and like go a little bit scatterbrain, a little bit bird brain like Nikki Haley, but I need to go ahead and say this. I understand that getting security at the subways is very, very important. It would help if you had a lot more cops rather than actual transit cops, like actual people in the subway, because transit cops, to my knowledge, they handle the trains going in and out of the city, but not cities that are not actually like the subway travel within the city itself. Please comment in the comment section and tell me if I got something wrong or not. But the thing that I wanted to touch on was this here. If somebody wanted to kill somebody or somebody wanted to actually commit harm, I'm pretty sure that they could find a way to get it beyond security. Now, what I'm about to say right now is something I'm going to pick back up on a little bit later on in the video. I'm having a hard time trying to word it right now, but if somebody wants to get a weapon in there or something to actually cause harm, I'm pretty sure they can find a way to actually do that. Now, I understand that stabbings is the thing we're mostly talking about, but what if somebody decided to strangle somebody, or I don't know, man, what if somebody, I don't know, did some prison stuff, like maybe snuck something through their rectum, and they just realized that, hey, look, old homie, I'm trying to go after or try to rob, or somebody I've been looking at for the past couple of weeks is like, right. I mean, I understand it's New York City. It's a very, very big city, and it's very, very densely populated, but still, I just figured I'd point that out before we go any further. Now, before we talk about this guy here, let me ask you a question. Especially if you are a New Yorker and you come across this channel. And according to my YouTube demographics, apparently I've gained a lot of New York subscribers. Thank you for subscribing. I don't talk about this because I dislike your city or anything like that. I report on this because, quite frankly, I do care and I do love the city itself. It's a very, very important city. That's the main reason why I talk about this. Not to mention, I also have a lot of neighbors who are New Yorkers themselves who moved down here to where I live at, and they have the same exact concerns. They had to leave. But let me ask you a serious question, and please tell me what you think in the comment section. Who's worse, Eric Adams or Bill de Blasio? I just want to know what you actually think. Now, the thing that really bothers me is that it says that some of these criminals, there's like thousands of these people who've been arrested, they've been let go, and of course you obviously saw the footage of the lady getting pushed off into the subway. It's a pretty cheap, low-down crime. I think I already addressed that earlier. But the thing about New York is this here. A lot of people, and I said this before and I'll say it again, a lot of people have got to take the subway to go from A to B. Now, somebody's probably going to come in the comment section and say, well, that guy hasn't committed no crime in the past 3 or 4 years, but now he can't get on the subway. Dude, the thing is this right here, you have to hold people accountable. Now, there is some issues here, and it could cause some problems later on down the road, but we haven't gotten there yet. So I'm still kind of open on this one. I'm not here with an absolute take. I'm just here to say you should have been doing stuff like this before. But you got to think about something else, too. The National Guard being deployed to these subways would not be necessary if the city of New York had not been a sanctuary city that decided to let all illegals in and then start giving work permits to other illegals, especially now that we're finding out that a lot of them are attached to gangs from Venezuela. And of course, we also know that there are a lot of others that are coming in that aren't from friendly nations. They had to shut down 5 NYPD recruiting classes. You wouldn't be needing the National Guard at this moment in time, especially given the fact that the National Guard is not equipped for law enforcement, which is something I didn't make earlier in the previous point, but I'm making now because, dude, I'm a veteran, prior service Marine. National Guard is not equipped for law enforcement. All right. I think the last thing you'd want to see is actually the National Guard as a civilian, but still, though, the situation is obviously desperate. But this entire situation could have been avoided had you not been a sanctuary city who just said, bring all the illegals in. And then, of course, now you're mad that all the illegals are there. I mean, it just seems like it's extremely irresponsible. And it also seems to me like maybe it's a situation where this situation could go a little bit too far. But still, though, it's just me. If you really and truly want to avoid all this nonsense, maybe what you could have done was, I don't know, maybe loosen the laws on being able to carry a firearm. I don't know. I mean, I understand that somebody may be scared that Bernard Goetz's may reappear, but quite frankly, I think you guys need a Bernie Goetz. Now let's talk about this guy.
People that's part of a catch, release, repeat system, it hurts our public safety. Small number of people doing bad things to good people in this city.
If anyone's curious what the NYPD is doing, what your cops are doing, they're making arrests at or near historic levels. The real question people should be asking is, why are we arresting people 100 times? And once we make the arrest, why are they back out within a day or two? Something.
There it is. And there it is. They just told you right there what the problem is. You have a lot of repeat offenders. You have a lot of repeat offenders. You have a lot of people that the district attorney, Alvin Bragg, refuses to keep locked up. I can already hear somebody saying, well, the jails are overflowing. Okay, you got Rikers Island. You got a bunch of other prisons in the area. Stick them in there. All right, that's the answer to the problem. When you actually arrest somebody, actually keep them arrested. That's how you fix this. But let's go through all the other things that's been happening in the city.
2 women were slashed in the legs at the Lexington and 86th Street subway station. This was earlier today. Fox 5's Kendall Green has the details on this investigation and how a series of incidents on the subways this week have left strap hangers on edge.
Safety on the subway, top of mind for this father on Father's Day, who's on board the train day in and day out.
I do feel defenseless because let's say if I try to defend myself and somebody's trying to hurt me and I hurt them, I'm going to get arrested and put in jail.
Guys, this one right here is a little bit older, and when I actually screen recorded it, I think it took part back last summer. But still, though, the thing about New York is this here. You're not allowed to defend yourself if attacked. Okay, that's basically the law. The standard of law has been set aside. You probably can defend yourself with hands, but still, if you remember the bodega situation where the guy walked in there and tried to kill the store owner for the store owner to only fight back in self-defense, yeah, New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg actually arrested that guy there. So while I'm saying you need to arrest people, you need to also arrest the right people. This guy right here, basically for the most part, encapsulated the entire mood of the city. And you'll see more of that over the course of the time of the set of clips that I'm showing you, because obviously New Yorkers, they're obviously a little bit scared about what the hell's going on. They feel like they're being put in a position where they can't fight back. And I do believe, regardless of how you may have voted or whatnot, you do have the basic right to self-defense. And this guy right here, pretty much for the most part, encapsulates the entire thing. You're not allowing us to defend ourselves, and if we do defend ourselves, you'll come to arrest us. The truth be told about New York is it's got a lot of problems, but the biggest problem is New York Mayor Alvin Bragg. New York District Attorney Alvin Bragg. He has got to go. But let's watch some more.
Sadly, it is hard to keep track of all the assaults. Statistics show violence in the subway system is rising. According to officials, in January and February of this year, major crimes on subways jumped 13.2%. By the end of February last year, there were 310 attacks on the trains, compared to this year, 351.
Honestly, sometimes safety might be something to worry about.
It is no secret many riders do not feel safe. Many have abandoned the trains altogether or ride only with friends, but always with eyes wide open. New York street smarts on high alert. On Friday, anti-gay slurs were hurled at a 27-year-old male rider before he was slashed. Police now searching for this man. Passengers not the only victims. Last Thursday, a 59-year-old subway conductor was slashed in the neck as he pulled into the Rockaway Avenue station during the overnight hours. He received 34 stitches.
I feel like in New York in particular, people watch out for each other, so it's kind of what defines.
Let me go ahead and say this really quick before we go to this next part and talk about subway crime actually rising. Here's some of the things that actually happened on the subway. Stabbings. You get into some really, really bad fist fights. People get jumped on the subways. In some cases, people actually get shot. There was a guy who, while Daniel Penny was going through the process that he was going through, that did actually get off for defending himself. Or for the most part, he got off. We may cover that at a later date because in the next year or so, I plan on doing a lot of video essays. And, of course, a lot of these video essays are also going to be about crime and the way they were actually reported, how it was that the media actually manipulated people. This includes stuff like OJ, Daniel Penny, for example, was another one. We'll probably come back to Kyle Rittenhouse, type of stuff like that right there, but we'll talk about that in another video. We just know that we plan on transitioning to that before the end of the year, and we're already starting the transition now into some stories and certain little things that I've been talking about for a while, like immigration, for example. But still, though, subway crime is obviously something that's going to probably get worse, especially under District Attorney Alvin Bragg. And I think that going back to what Eric Adams was saying earlier, where him and the guy who's the chief of the transit police officers, it almost felt to me like they wanted to go ahead and say that the biggest problem in the city of New York is obviously District Attorney Alvin Bragg, who is not actually locking criminals up. If you lock criminals up, they don't get out. Okay, more often than not, they don't get out. A lot of times, especially the repeat offenders, now that's a different video altogether, a lot of them do. But still, though, you need to actually hold these people accountable. If the jails are, if the jails are full, make more room or send them to an actual prison. Okay? There are other ways to get around this, but of course it would violate YouTube's terms of service. I say that, but stabbings and that type of stuff, it's not the only thing that you're dealing with. You're also dealing with people, who like to, you'll see here in a second.
Get to those stories in just a moment, but we begin with a story we report day after day. Unrelenting violence in the New York City subway system. Tonight, a man recovers after he was kicked off the platform and onto the subway tracks. Eyewitness News reporter Lucy Yang has more from Penn Station.
Sunday afternoon, a 64-year-old man was waiting for the train to pull in at 34th Street Penn Station when someone came up from behind, kicked him in the back, which caused the victim to fall onto the tracks. Thankfully, fellow riders pulled the man to safety while the attacker fled. A few hours later, up on 168th Street, a female rider was punched repeatedly. The female attacker on the run. Authorities also looking for this man. Detectives believe on Saturday he stuck his hands down a sleeping passenger's pants.
You got this guy in the yellow basically whipping his junk out. It's what he's doing. I mean, dude, there are a lot of people who go on the subway who, quite frankly, don't deserve the crap that they're going through. I mean, I would tell people just to walk, but still at the same time, though, the subway is the fastest place from point A to point B, and people, quite frankly, should not be going through this. People don't feel safe in New York for a lot of reasons, and I understand that crime has always been an issue in that city, but still at the same time, if you actually allow people to be able to defend themselves, this right here would probably mitigate half the problem. If you allow people to defend themselves and utilize their Second Amendment rights, it would probably take care of 2/3 of the problem. If you actually did those two things I just said and actually kept the criminals locked up rather than let go, it would probably take care of about 100% of the problem. But that's just me, though. I think that it's actually quite disgraceful that Kathy Hochul has been the governor of New York State since 2020. Well, technically, she's been the governor since 2021. She's known that the crime was ridiculous. She's known that New Yorkers are going through a lot of problems, especially on the subways. She knows they are extremely unsafe. She knows that Mayor Eric Adams is completely inept and a complete doofus. She knows that the state cannot support all the migrants that they're bringing in. She knows that the current president of the United States is a complete total goofball. She knows the culture in the city has gone to hell. She knows the recent business ruling that Letitia James laid on former President Trump, or the recent court ruling, is going to completely annihilate the last little bit of decency as far as business and potential economic opportunity in the state. She knows that the, that's right, the tax, the fee that's been levied on New York pizza store owners who, by the way, have coal oven pizza, she knows it's going to destroy tourism. And you're just now getting to the subway crime issue? Pathetic. Then again, though, I think it's pretty obvious at this point in time that we probably should have expected this. So once again, to the people of New York City who voted for this, you get what it is you vote for. That's just my thoughts, just my thinking right now. And there's a lot of very good New Yorkers in that city who hate to see what the hell happened to their city, and they know something's obviously on the rise. But guys, please tell me in the comment section if you think that sending the National Guard to the subway system, please tell me if you think this is something that's going to work. I really want to hear your thoughts. Please tell me where I'm wrong at. Please tell me if you think this is actually going to work. Let's have a conversation. Let's have a dialogue, and let's see if we can actually fix our nation. With that right there being said, guys, please hit the like button. Please subscribe if you're new here. Please hit the notifications bell. You guys can follow me on Facebook. I'll try to link my Twitter account in the description box. And also something else too, please share the video and please click the notifications bell so that way you guys are notified when my videos come out. And I'll see you guys later.